Welcome to Curito Connects. I'm your host, Jenn, and I've been conversing with friends around the world about life challenges and impactful moments. Conversations on this platform look at answering the questions, how we overcome challenges and how our experiences shape who we are and the work we do today. I hope this work can inspire you on your own personal and individual journey. Let's dive right in. Hello, my guest today is Steffi Lopez Gonzalez from Your Life, Your Playground, a life coach, mentor, speaker, Pilates, and yoga instructor based out of Hong Kong. Hi, Steffi.
Hi, Jenn.
Steffi and I met in Hong Kong back in 2015 and have since become Instagram friends. And we almost launched a weekend workshop together here in Taipei. But like many physical events around the world, we had to cancel due to the pandemic. Steffi is such a life force of positivity, encouragement, and inspiring individual. She has brought her energy to wellness events, TED Talks, corporate workshops in Hong Kong and around the world. When I asked Steffi to choose her challenge or impactful moment that shaped her, she told me she wanted to talk about letting go of old narratives and meanings we attach to stories to create an empowered version of ourselves. I am so excited for Steffi to share her story and why having gone through different life obstacles over the years has helped her understand these narratives we create and how she is moving closer to her authentic self and is passionate about helping others do the same. So without further ado, Steffi, I pass the mic to you.
Thank you, Jenn. Thank you for that incredible introduction. I'm feeling like, wow, a bit shy, not shy, but that was a big introduction, Jenn. I wanted to share with you some of the pivotal life changes and experiences that I went through that made me realize about the patterns and the narratives that I attach to facts, right? I think what is important about the tough experiences is to realize the meaning we give to the experience. And I discovered through my own divorce a bunch of stories, narrative that I had attached to what was happening. So basically, I think humans do not stop reflecting or observing or watching our thoughts and mind unless we start struggling. So like the tendency is, unless we struggle or we go through a difficulty, we don't tend to reflect or watch, observe, notice our thoughts and what we are doing within our minds, right? So that's yoga. You mentioned yoga. Yoga is a tool. Through yoga, most people practice yoga on the mat. That's like the asana part of yoga. And through that practice, you notice, you observe what is happening within your body, maybe within your mind and emotions, right? Then there are many other techniques. Yoga leads to meditation. And then we have also mindfulness. I've been a practitioner of all that, a big part of my life. And I have used it to watch what I'm doing internally in my mind, okay? But as I said earlier, the tendency, like humans by default, are not gonna be observant and noticing what they are doing within their mind until their feelings are giving them a signal, okay, we're not doing good. I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling bad. What is happening?
Right.
And through yoga or through mindfulness, you can start with awareness. So you start by being aware of what are you doing in your mind, what is happening in your mind, in your body, in your emotions, right? So I guess the divorce was a very dramatic life experience, but I was always determined on making it work, which seems a very healthy and constructive approach, right? Like making things work, making a marriage work, making a relationship work. But sometimes we can get so obsessed with, I was so obsessed with making it work. And I didn't even realize or question why I wanted to make it work so badly. And there will be a support system family, they would say you're doing the right thing by trying to make it work. But to an extent, right? Because the relationship became really, really toxic. And within my body and in my mind, I felt really bad. And it was then when I started noticing the beliefs, the stories in my mind. And when I realized that I was super scared of the relationship failing, because that would mean that I am a failure. Where did I get that from? Well, then we can go and start analyzing things that happened in the past, conclusions or meanings I draw from things that happened in the past, in childhood, in a young age, because everything makes sense, actually, why I came to that meaning, but it's definitely not constructive. And it took me mindfulness and yoga to realize that I was really scared to be a failure.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is not I am scared to be a failure. The problem is, why am I believing I'm a failure if the relationship doesn't work? So I think the tools like yoga and mindfulness are tools for us to notice what is going on inside, and everything starts with awareness. So once you are aware, once you notice what is happening inside, then you have the power. If you're not aware, you don't have any power to change or to rectify or redirect things. So first, everything starts with awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you have that awareness, then you can see the story, then you can see the narrative of the mind. But of course, in order for us to do that, we need to distance ourselves from our minds. So we are not what we think. We are not what we feel, right? That's step one.
Yeah, that you
and why do I?
That's like the most difficult part to initiate, right?
Yeah, but it is difficult to initiate because most of us are identifying with the beliefs, the ideas, the opinions that we have, and we don't make difference. So there is no space between like that pure consciousness or awareness that is able to notice the mind and the mind in itself. But you know this, I mean, the eye cannot see the eye if it's not with a mirror. If we were our thoughts, our feelings, we wouldn't be able to observe them in the first place.
Right.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
There is something beyond thought, beyond feelings, that is able to notice those thoughts and those feelings.
Can I ask, so at what point did you catch yourself in that mirroring effect of seeing eye to eye for yourself during this process?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of people, when they, and again, it doesn't have to be divorce per se. It could be many other examples, but people do tend to, revert to alcohol or drugs or find an extreme addiction to kind of numb that feeling, or they feel like they can't, they just feel so helpless that they can't make the changes, even though they kind of intuitively know this isn't really right for them and they don't want to do it. And then and like you said earlier, the minds, the monkey mind starts approaching, and there's all these thoughts and, like you said, ego and concerns, all these things bottling up in the mind to not allow them to make that step of like you said earlier, see eye to eye and go, separate that, the mind.
This is not who I am. This is not who I am. Yeah. Right. I mean, but this didn't happen. This didn't happen through my divorce or any time soon before that. This happened. So, okay. The first time that I was able to distinguish and to have that clarity was back when I was 24 years old. So at the time I was in the Netherlands, and I was working in a market research company in communications. And I was also working on a TV station. At the time, I remember I had bought a house and I was very busy, and I was not really happy at my job in the market research company. And bless her, but my boss was, not a great woman, at least not to me. Yeah, not nice to me. And that triggered a lot of insecurities and self-doubt that I didn't even know they were before, in me. And at the time, I had a panic attack, and it was a very scary experience because basically you really feel like you are gonna die. And I remember I was living with a friend of mine who I called when that happened, and then she came, and that moment passed, and I was like, well, what just happened? And I started sleeping poorly, and soon enough I had more panic attacks, and that was very scary. And when you start having panic attacks, like, you start becoming really scared that those panic attacks are going to happen again. And I developed a lot of anxiety, so I probably faced at that point, and for a year long, the darkest period of my life, where I suffered from panic attacks, anxiety, and through that, I developed a frame of sort of depressive symptoms as well. And I remember being really scared of my own mind. I remember thinking, I'm losing my mind, I'm going crazy. And I didn't really feel like I was pretty stubborn. I didn't want to seek for professional help. I thought I could sort it myself. Of course, I had to sort it myself, but I ended up looking for help. I went to a therapist, and I went to a psychologist. I did some CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I did some mindfulness as well. And I just had at one point a realization. So I remember cycling, and I had this realization. I mean, feelings are a reaction of our thoughts, and the feelings feed back to our thoughts, and we create and generate more thoughts. So let's say if I have a negative thought thinking I am stupid, or I am what I'm thinking doesn't make sense, you feel bad about yourself, or you feel sad, or you feel shame in your body, and that goes back to your mind and generates possibly more negative thoughts. Anyway, I just saw that conversation between mind and thoughts and feelings and heart very clearly. But I also noticed, wow, I can watch all this happening. I just had this huge insight all of a sudden, where I could see what was happening, and I realized I am not what I'm thinking. I am not what I'm feeling, because I am able to see it. I am able to observe it. And I had goosebumps and electricity through all my body, all the way my cervical spine to the crown of my head. I was like, my God, yeah, it was amazing. And at that point, things started to shift, because I could detach. There was some space between that could observe, that awareness, and the thoughts and the feelings. And that created freedom. And it was the first biggest step to recovery.
That was a great transition there, because I then wanted to ask you, was that kind of the turning point when you started switching your career path?
Correct. Yeah, right? That's right.
And I know right now when we met in 2015, you were primarily more Pilates and yoga focused. And I've seen you shift as well into doing more mentorship and, women guidance, corporate guidance as well in the wellness sector. And I just wanted to ask, in terms of your own experience with all this, how you apply it into, your journey thus far with your career path, and how you take this and apply it to working with your clients. And like we said earlier, it's not just a one-time experience and you have like this alignment, energetic aha moment, and it's forever done. And then now
it's a constant process.
It's a constant process. And you just, you clearly in this conversation thus far have also illustrated that, because right, we first started off with the divorce, which happened more recently, but then we went back to when you were 24. And so it's a constant progress and development. So I just wanted to ask you if you could share with us a little bit about, the transition with career and how you apply it, how you apply what you've learned, right, with your clients.
Okay, so there are many aha moments, right? Like, and you're right, it's a constant evolution and it's a constant process. There's no quick fixes. Well, sometimes there are quick fixes for that moment, and then there's another learning curve approaching. There will be things that life will challenge you with, and then you'll have maybe, hopefully, more aha moments, by self-discovery and by peeling the layers. First of all, our mind is, for most part, subconscious, right? So what is subconscious, we cannot work on unless you do maybe hypnosis or other methods that I am not expert, or I am not that knowledgeable in. But what is subconscious, I cannot work on. What is conscious, I can work on. And I think through life and through experiences and things that happen, there will be layers of the subconscious becoming conscious, and that's our opportunity for growth, or for liberation, for evolution, right? So I had a really big challenge when I was 24, and as I said, through challenges, if we want to, we can grow a lot. I didn't really have a choice. I mean, I was suffering a lot, so I had to. I had to work on myself. It was not, I could get sick and be on medication. That's something that in Holland, by the way, they do pretty good. Nothing against medication, of course, but at the time, in those circumstances, it would have been very likely that in another country they give you, antidepressants or another medications. They didn't do that. I remember they gave me some sleeping tablets, and I was allowed to, because I had really trouble sleeping. So they support me a little bit on that period. Anyways, medications help or can help, but they may delay the process of growth. That's my humble opinion. And I think it was a really hard moment in my life, but as you said, it led me to change my career. So I always had great affinity with self-development, personal growth, philosophy. I had a lot of questions and an innate curiosity. What are we doing here? What makes us happy? What is the purpose of life? What gives us meaning? That has been always a constant in my life. And I always wanted to do something in that regard. But, you finish college, high school, and you go to university, you don't really know what you're going to study. Well, I didn't know at the time. And I ended up doing communication science, end up working advertising and television, then in market research, as I said. But I still had this strong feeling that I needed to do something meaningful, and I knew that I had the power to make a difference somehow in my way in the world. I think we all do. And that was through teaching or through communicating. So I decided to do at that point in my life a life coaching a program in the States. And so I did neurolinguistic programming. And when I got back to Holland after that, I started my own practice in coaching, actually. And I did that next to my job. So I had one foot as an entrepreneur in my coaching practice and the other foot in advertising at the time. And then one thing led to the other. I've been always very physical, very active. I love movement. And I tried yoga out of curiosity, and I found it very challenging. I didn't really like it, to be honest, because I was quite competitive and I just didn't like not to be flexible and not to be able to show up, you know, in that way that show up like being one of the best in class. I was just not able to. So I didn't really like that. But somehow there was something in me that made me think, okay, why do I get so triggered? Why I don't like that? This is good for me. And that's also when you apply that mindfulness and that, you know, you recognize your mind struggling because you are not feeling like you are the best or you are one of the best in class. And that awareness that was there, that big insight that I had when I was 25 helped me to continue in the yoga journey and think, okay, well, that's your competitive voice, right? That's your, that's the ego. And that kept me in the yoga practice. So I think when I was 29, I did my first yoga teaching training. I went to India. Mm-hmm. And I lived in Kerala in an ashram in Nayar. And that was an incredible experience. I mean, I would have so much to tell you about that experience. And while I was in India, yeah, I had this realization too. I'm like, you know, I can leave, I can die at any moment. We all gonna die, but we don't know when. And I don't want to spend more time in the office. I don't get value from helping clients which products I don't feel affinity to make money, or make videos for services that I don't feel they resonate, yeah, with my values. So I decided to stop my corporate career. And so I stopped my corporate career after that India trip when I was 30 years old. And then I took a year off and I went off traveling. I rented my house. I sold the car. I was single at the time. So I traveled. I went to India again for 3 months. And then I went to Australia, in Southeast Asia, the Philippines. And I ended up in Bali. And somehow I met this lady who asked me to teach yoga. I said no. She insisted. And I said, okay, why not? So I started to teach yoga in Bali at that time. And it came just very natural to me. And well, life in Bali, I met the brother of my now ex-husband. And after a bit of back and forth, we decided that we wanted to, you know, to go for it. And I decided to move to Hong Kong. And so that happened a bit more than 7 years ago. And I moved to Hong Kong and I decided to stay in my journey, in my path in wellness and teaching yoga and doing life coaching. And then one thing led to the other.
I think we were going into that transition of talking about how you apply what you've learned, you've gone through in your work.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, I don't know if I'm blessed or lucky or not. I think I am, because basically everything that I am passionate about and that I am applying in my life is what I teach and what I give, or how I serve others. Yeah. Right. So basically through conversation, sometimes inquiry, coaching, I help others realize what they are doing within, and the connection between mental and emotional as well as physical, in how by drawing awareness to that inner world and understanding the concept of detachment, meditation, mindfulness, they can find breathing space to maneuver and actually create narratives or create beliefs that sustain and are resourceful to their life paths, to what they want in their life. So basically, there are different things. So I support individuals get aligned with their values.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't question their values, but it's very important to be aligned with your own values.
Yep.
And then through that mindfulness practice, the inquiry, the conversation, become aware of the narratives, the beliefs, the thoughts, and the emotions and the feelings that are interconnected with those. And then understand where that narrative comes from. I mean, that's more therapeutic work, but understanding where the narrative comes from, the stories, and rewrite that narrative in a way that serves you.
Yeah, I really like the way you put that in regards to the narrative about yourself and how you want to write that narrative, and really understanding that narrative, you know, internally and externally, how you're projecting yourself, how you're understanding yourself in the world you live in. I think that's really key for any individual. And I think that's clearly what you bring to the table when you're working with your clients.
I really hope so. I mean, the idea is, it is key to understand, in my practice, like, it's key to understand that we are not our thoughts and we are not our feelings, even though they are very strong and powerful, and they are real to the extent that we feel them in our bodies, right? In the material, in the tangible world, we feel it, it's real.
Yep.
But it's not who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I teach, and I try to have my clients experience, and I do that through inquiry or sometimes meditation, so that they have also that internal real realization that they are not who they think or what they feel.
Yeah.
So they have that space to then rewrite or create another beliefs or narrative that serves them. But there is a process, and of course, it's an ever evolving, it's an ongoing process. Like we talked earlier, the aha moments will come, I hope, our whole life. So we just have to be curious to what shows up in our mind.
Yeah.
And be constantly,
sorry, I was going to say also to be open-minded.
Totally open-minded. Yeah. So yeah, open-minded to our own mind. Given that most of the things are subconscious, we better become open-minded our own mind, right? Because we don't even know. So it's a humble curiosity to our own mind. Knowing that we are also not our own mind. Because it will show us, I had no idea of some of the patterns that and beliefs that were there before that divorce. I mean, there were another lessons before, but certainly I didn't have the understanding and the knowledge about myself that I had during the divorce. There were other things that show up.
Totally.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I hope for the listeners, it resonates as well in terms of when you do spend some time and reflect back on different trigger points and why you react a certain way and these repetitive cycles that occur. You know, those are clear signs for you. And it's because of those signs, if you are aware and you work on them, that then it leads to your ahas. And it's really just one aha after another.
Yeah. And hopefully the ahas like are, you know, there's always, I said about painful experiences can lead to those aha moments. And I don't know, I am in the journey. I am aware that I will be challenged and I will be facing experiences maybe that will, bring up another gaps or insecurities. I'm hoping and I trust that they are going to be easier to overcome. Like I see it as I'm already embracing that is going to be the journey. I'm not trying to avoid the pain or the challenges. And I think that's also a big thing, to be to trust yourself and to embrace whatever it is that is going to come in the external and in the internal world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so then the stress or the resistance kind of dissolves. And that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ever evolving journey becomes pleasant.
Yeah.
We are not scared of it.
Exactly.
In the first place, the minds know who we are. So, easy.
I think people might be like, it's easier said than done. Well, we're running short on time. So just one last question before we wrap up this beautiful conversation that, you've been sharing with us. I wanted to ask, like you said earlier, in this ever ongoing journey of facing what life throws at you, and because you're outputting so much as well, right? You're interacting with students, with clients, whether it's a Pilates yoga class or you're coaching. How do you find time for yourself? And I know, if people start following your Instagram page, it's so lively, like I look at your Instagram and I'm always like, oh, it makes me happy, right? Because you're always posting such positive, bright, colorful, happy notes. But clearly, like you said, your life, you're going through a lot of stuff too, right? Maybe you're not necessarily sharing that on social media, all the time. But when you encounter these things, what do you do to help you kind of find time for yourself? We're all equal. We all have 24 hours in a day. So what helps you kind of recalibrate for yourself in moments like these?
Okay, so there are two things. I think when I am very busy, I work with people all day long. And I do find sometimes that I need to make a conscious effort to create me time. So I simply block out of my day a couple of hours where I know I'm going to do my own yoga practice, or I'm going to go to the beach and go to the ocean. So I basically have a list of resources. I don't only know what those things are, but I have written down a bunch of resources, from listening to podcasts, going to the ocean, going to yoga, do Pilates, talk to certain people, spend time with my dog. I just know, do the meditation. I know what I need to do to recalibrate myself into recharge. And that's probably also what you see in social media when you see me on the ocean, or when you see me doing hikes. I'm not really sure what you see, but that's on one hand. And the other part of the question my life is not perfect. Of course it's not. But what is perfection too? I mean, it's perfectly imperfect. There is no perfection. I find it perfect because I am honest to myself, and I hope to others. Maybe it's not transmitted in social media the way it exactly is, about my own struggles. I mean, life is beautiful and it's a struggle. It's part of our human experience, right? So I keep applying the same principles as we discussed earlier, and I work on my own mental patterns. I am learning every day as we go. And what I need to do more often, if not, is just take some time off and recharge by using those resources, as well as I'm constantly open to learn about myself and rewrite new narratives that help me be aligned with my new goals or my mission. Yeah. So what I do now is fantastic. You said, oh, how does it evolve into a wellness talk or into corporates or into Pilates? Well, just being aware of what you want, and then setting for yourself goals, and then to pursue those goals, you just break things down and you pursue them, and you just make them happen, right? It's a constant building. Like there's no like magic button. Right. You learn riding a bicycle by riding the bicycle.
Yep.
So you just have to want to learn to ride a bicycle. Yeah. You learn skiing by skiing. I mean, you can read a book about skiing, but until you do it, you're not going to know how to ski.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be doing slalom until you practice. There's a journey. So this is what I'm doing today, and it will evolve and it will change. I have goals, and I actually have some new exciting projects coming up.
Ooh, I'm excited to hear more about that after we finish.
Yeah, and I will work on them by just putting myself out there. And if there's any insecurity or fear on the way, I am the one who can change that, right?
Yep.
By using all the tools that we have.
Yeah. I like how you summarize that. And I think that's a great way to wrap up this conversation, which basically is, what is your narrative? And also finding what works for you to recalibrate yourself whenever you come across, when you feel like you're not balanced, right? So whether for some people it's going out to the beach, going for a hike, or just staying home and, catching up on your rest. It could be
sleep.
Or just cooking or spending more time with family, whatever it is for you, just find that tool for yourself. And just remember to always go back to it whenever you encounter different struggles you may be encountering, or
even before the struggles. I think that has to be a daily practice. We need to also, our body, sometimes we get sick, but I believe that we can maybe prevent getting sick if we would have listened to some signs before. I mean,
absolutely.
And then before the struggle, you already have to take those times for yourself. As I said, I feel like I have to create even more times for myself. And those resources that we use can also evolve. For me now is wake surfing and going to the ocean. But before I didn't even know how to wake surf. It was something else. So they can evolve, they can change, but it's constantly being aware that you need, that happy pot of ideas or resources, what you need to do for self-care. Yeah. And then never lose sight of that principle. We are not our mind. We are not our ego. We are not our thoughts and feelings. And there you find the space and power to maneuver, to overcome unresourceful and painful narratives that maybe don't serve us anymore.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Steffi. I'm going to include all your links so people can follow you or, reach out to you if they want one-on-one consultation with you or sign up for your online Zoom classes as well. And obviously for those in Hong Kong, if you're teaching live, they can reach out as well. So thank you.
That'll be great. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Jenn, for creating the platform. And it was great to talk to you again.
That's all we have time for today. Thank you for listening to Curito Connects. For more Connects content, collaborations, and discoveries set to inspire you on your own individual journey, please head to our website at www.curito.co. Until next time, stay inspired, and thank you for joining us at Curito Connects.